Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football and welcome back to Football Theory. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by my good friend, esteemed colleague, Jeff Howe. We'll tell you more about Laura Baker, who we appreciate sponsoring this episode of Football Theory a little bit later on. But Jeff, of course, everybody's still buzzing about the acquisitions the Longhorns are making on the offensive side of the ball via the transfer portal. And I kind of want to talk about that. I want to talk about how really the explosivity is going to come back to the offense. I got a couple of numbers, some stats about some of these acquisitions the Longhorns have made in the transfer portal that I think are really going to shed light on how explosive this offense can be. I think we understand with Cam Coleman, bringing in Raleek Brown, Hollywood Smothers, just a combination of talent, plus combining that with Ryan Wingo and then Arch Manning. I think Longhorn fans are starting to comprehend the how good this offense can be. If it's not elite, I'm going to say it right now. I think people are going to be critical of Sark because there's no excuse for this not to be an elite offense unless you don't finish building out the offensive line. But we all know that's a work in progress as we speak. But Sark hasn't had like a top 10 offense here at Texas. I believe he's at a top 15 offense, but in terms of elite, like he built there or like helped build there at Alabama, and helped create there at Alabama, he hadn't had that yet. This seems like this may be the closest he has gotten to it so far at Texas.
I think if you look at his offenses, Rod, the 2023 offense is the one that stands out to me because the way that thing was trending by the end of the year, it was a machine. It was turning into that. And the downside of that offense, I shouldn't say the downside, the unfortunate thing with that offense is, Quinn Ewers gets hurt right after the Oklahoma game and that game at Houston. And the next couple of weeks with Malik Murphy at quarterback, he really started to lean on the run game and really started to trust Jonathan Brooks. And then when Quinn Ewers comes back, okay, now you got Jonathan Brooks established. You trust your run game. You got a quarterback that you clearly trust. You've got Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell and Jordan Whittington, Jatavian Sanders. Like, you've got an offense that's about as explosive and dynamic as any in the country. And then Jonathan Brooks gets hurt. So I think, Rod, you can make the case that through injuries and some unfortunate circumstances, Sark has never had his preferred personnel go start to finish the season. Now, I know that's unrealistic because that just doesn't happen in football. But if this offense if the core pieces are there the whole way through, then yeah, there's no reason why it shouldn't be the most explosive, most prolific, most productive, put any label you want on it, offense in college football in 2026.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up that 2023 offense, and at Texas, that was the first time Sark had an offense that was top 10 in the country in explosive plays generated at Texas. So it's 20-plus yard plays, in my opinion, by the definition. And you were top 10. You had 78, I believe, explosive plays. And then use that. That's how you know Sark started to really implement his philosophy, because I think he is a big game hunter offensively. In 2024, you back that up with 108 20-plus yard plays. You led the country. Which is second time, by the way, that Sark in a 5-year span had led Sark offense had led the country in explosive plays. Of course, you did at Bama in 2020, led the country in explosive plays as well. And I actually kind of rank what I call these these engineers of explosivity, right? Kind of the architects of these really explosive plays. And Sark is like in my top 3. Essentially, my ranking is how your offense, like obviously where they rank producing and generating 20-plus yard plays. But then if you've done it with multiple quarterbacks, if you've done it at multiple places. So my ranking, just in a nutshell, Lincoln Riley's number 1 because in 6 of the last 8 years, he's had a top 10 offense in explosive plays generated, done it at 2 different places, done it with multiple quarterbacks. Lane Kiffin's number 2. Because he's done that in multiple places with different quarterbacks 6 of the last 8 years. Sark's number 3. He's 4 of the last 8 years. He's had a top 10 offense in explosive plays, and he's done it with multiple quarterbacks, as we know, too. 3 different quarterbacks I'm looking at. So that's just my top 3. By the way, look out for Eric Morris. He ended up making number 4 on my list this year. But dude's a beast. Now the head coach there at Oklahoma State, I mean, dude, 23, 24, and 25 had a top 10 offense in generating explosive plays there at North Texas, and also did it with a lot of different quarterbacks. But I digress. So we know Sark has the the blueprint, right? That is part of his offensive philosophy. But now he's got more weapons than ever before offense, or at least more high level weapons than ever before. And a quarterback that's I mean, if he reaches his ceiling, we're talking about the best quarterback prospect potentially that Sark has ever coached too.
Mhm.
I don't think it's to me, I don't think it's unrealistic to say I expect an elite offense this year. But I expect them to be, I will predict that they're going to be top 10 in explosive plays generated. I'm going to throw it out there right now. Blackstradamus were predicted. I don't know if they're going to lead the country. That's asking a lot. I think they'll be top 10. I'd be shocked if they're not. Shocked.
Sark has that quote, Rod, the more things we do well, the tougher we are to defend. I think you can boil it down to the more guys Sark trusts, the tougher his offense is to defend. Because I don't even think it's about talent per se. Because again, I go back to that 2023 season. I think we could all agree, like Jaden Blue and Keelan Robinson and CJ Baxter, they were talented guys. But I think, like, specifically in that Sugar Bowl loss to Washington, he didn't trust those guys as much as he would have trusted Jonathan Brooks. So I think it goes back to how many guys does Sark trust. I think there were times in 2022, quite frankly, towards the end of the year, Sark didn't trust Quinn the way he would eventually trust Quinn, because you had the break glass in case of emergency. You know what? Quinn doesn't have the day. We'll just hand the ball to Bijan and Roshan, and we'll get out of here. Like, that's just the fallback plan. But I think you've got enough diversity with your weapons, I think, is the key. Like, all of these guys, Cam Coleman is different from Ryan Wingo, who's different from Emmett Mosley. And then you go in the backfield, Hollywood Smothers is different from Raleek Brown, which is going to be different than what Derek Cooper or maybe Michael Terry or James Simon. It's going to be different than what those guys bring to the table. So I think spring ball, Rod, is insanely critical. It's more critical probably for this team, maybe than any team Sark has had on offense, because you've got, yes, these guys are talented. They've been productive. How quickly can they earn Sark's trust? The quicker they earn his trust, I think the better this offense is going to be out of the gate. So trust is big with Sark. He probably doesn't talk about it as much as he probably should, but you can tell just in his play calling, the guys he funnels production to, trust is massive with him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that 100%. I mean, I think honestly, it took a while this season for some of the guys, the younger pieces, to earn his trust. And we've seen that even during games, you can lose Sark's trust. Like, if you're just not playing well, he will abandon certain elements of the offense and go, all right, you know what? I'm just going to stick with what works and what I trust. Yeah. We've seen him do that with the running game. We've seen that do that because his maybe quarterback is having an off day. So I'm with you on that trust factor. That's big. And I'll kind of get into this one other element. So we're talking about the explosivity of this offense. The Cam Coleman factor. It's going to be a butterfly effect all through the offense. Yeah. I think one of the things that's going to be great is you're going to get 2 high and 3 high shells most of the time, just because now you have legitimate threats, right? You got Ryan Wingo and you got a Cam Coleman. You got such legitimate threats in the passing game that defenses are going to err on the side of caution and just try to keep an umbrella, right? To keep a top over the defense. That's going to give you an advantage in the run game. Where your explosivity really decreased this year was in the running game. You only had 12 runs of 20 plus yards on the season. And think about it, a few of those are quarterback runs, not even running back runs. With Raleek Brown and with Hollywood Smothers. Here's my stat that should get Longhorn fans excited. It's the only backfield in the country that I could find. Now, I will say there's a lot of turnover. There's a lot of moving parts still with, transfer portal. So this could change because everything's fluid. But as today, what I could find is that Texas has the only backfield with multiple running backs who have at least 48 missed tackles forced and at least 600 yards after contact, and not done, and at least 9 rushes of 20 plus yards. So all those 3 things, that's the criteria. At least 9 rushes of 20 plus yards, because there's a real drop off after 9. They're like 20 something players with at least 8 rushes of 20 plus yards. And right at 9, I want to say at 9, you have like 32 players with 9 or more rushes of 20 plus yards in the country, but you got 20 something 8. So it's a real drop off after that. So that's why I cut it off. So they're the only backfield in the country that I could find that's most for running backs with at least 600 yards after contact, at least 48 missed tackles forced, and at least 9 rushes of 20 plus yards. The backfields that came close to them: Louisville with Isaac Brown and Q1 Brown, Texas Tech with Cameron Dickey and J.K. Williams. They came close. Jacoby Williams, excuse me. They came close, but that's about it. Nobody else in terms of running backs came close to reaching that stat. Like I said, that could change by the end of portal season and when spring starts up. But right now, you can make the argument based off that stat. You got the most explosive backfield in the country.
I'll give you some more numbers, Rod, and I've compared this 2026 backfield. It could be the backfield that Sark never got to see come to fruition in 2024 because of C.J. Baxter's injury. So I looked at Trey Wisner and Jaden Blue in 2024 and what Raleek Brown did at Arizona State this past season, and what Hollywood Smothers did at NC State. I compare Wisner with just look at the two guys. Trey Wisner, 3.08 yards after contact per attempt. Blue was 3.83. Brown this year, 3.28. Smothers, 3.84. Wisner, 45 missed tackles forced. Blue, 37. Then you go 53 for Raleek Brown, 48 for Hollywood Smothers. Runs of 10 or more yards, 27 for Wisner, 13 for Blue, 31 for Brown, 24 for Smothers, and then runs of 15 yards or more. You've got 15 for Wisner, 9 for Blue, 16 for Brown, 14 for Smothers. So you compare the two backfields, the Raleek Brown, Hollywood Smothers backfield should be more explosive than that Trey Wisner, Jaden Blue backfield. Here's the difference, though. Because of C.J. Baxter's injury, Christian Clark could have given you something between the tackles, but he had the Achilles injury in the preseason. And it just never really clicked the way they needed it to with Jarrett Gibson. I really think with Derek Cooper leading the way, I think he, as a true freshman, if that's his role, is just primarily like an inside zone runner, which he's really good at. That's what he's shown at the high school level. He can give you that power run element that you didn't have in 24. And even though you don't want to turn him into 2019 Sam Ehlinger, Arch Manning's one of your better inside runners. So he's one of your better runners in short yardage and power situations because he's so big, his forward body lean, everything. Arch has the athleticism. He's got the ability to kind of make himself skinny, getting through the hole. Been really good running through contact, tries to protect his body as much as possible. I think between that combination, I think you could have the backfield that Sark kind of in his vision kind of hoped he was going to get in 24.
Yeah, no, it's a good point because, in when you look at that, like Matthew Golden, teams should have respected Matthew Golden more. Right? He was great at contested catches down the field. He was great on the deep ball. He actually was one of the leaders. I think he was top 3 in the country in 20-plus yard receptions, but they didn't respect him enough. Cam Coleman comes in already with that respect that Matthew Golden had to earn by the end of the season. He comes in with that. So that's going to help your run game, you're talking about, because you got to pick your poison. You're going to either, like I said, if I'm Sark, I call it trident. He has it's almost like a triangle bunch that in a condensed set. It's right there. You ever saw what he's talking about? They like to run duo out of it in some of their power concepts, but they run out of 11 and 12. They run this triangle bunch. I call it trident, and they have a single receiver split out to the opposite side of the formation. I would use a lot of that and force teams to either roll coverage to that bunch side, put a safety over Cam Coleman, or they're going to try to stack the box. Like, you can't do all of it.
Right.
And I think that's why I'm with you. I think the Cam Coleman butterfly effect is you get more of those explosive runs because teams are going to be willing to give that up. You want to pick a poison. I would much rather you beat me running the football and see if Texas can do that. Something that they hadn't really proven they can do. And you take Arch out of it, but if I can take the ball out of Arch Manning's hands, I'm cool with that. I'm hooked. I got that also I can live with, and I think a lot of teams will choose that over it as well. One more little nugget about the backfield. So we're talking about that really bringing the explosivity back to the offense. If you look at 50-plus yard runs, Smothers 4, Raleek Brown has 3. Only one power 4 running back has more than Smothers, and only 6 power 4 running backs had more 50-plus yard runs than Raleek Brown. It is like, I don't think any running back had a 50-plus yard run with Texas. Like, They're going to bring the explosivity back. There's no doubt. All right. Thank you, Jeff. Let's thank our sponsor, Laura Baker. Before we end today's show, we appreciate Laura Baker and the Andy Allen team at Keller Williams for sponsoring Football Theory. They can handle all of your real estate needs in the Austin area. Laura is not only a diehard Longhorn fan, but a longtime Austin real estate expert. So if you have any concerns or questions regarding real estate in the Austin area, please give her a shout today, 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. Or you can reach out at laura@andyallenteam.com. That's laura@andyallenteam.com. Thank you very much to Laura Baker and her team for being a part of our team here at On Texas Football. And thank you, Jeff. Great stuff. As always, appreciate all of your knowledge and expertise. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes, twisting and tweaking the dials, doing it better than anybody else. He's the real MVP. And thanks to each and every one of you for watching and for listening. For Jeff and for Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horn.